welcome to Southgate Media's Flashpoint, a podcast dedicated to the hit CW show The Flash, starring Grant Gustin. If we sound familiar, don't be alarmed, and don't check your podcast. It is Lilith and Kelly from the DVMPE's The Flash podcast. Due to creative differences, we have left the DVMPE and found a home on Southgate Media so that we can do both the Arrow podcast together as well as the Flash podcast together. And we couldn't be happier.
That's right.
In the coming weeks, you will get to know our quirky personalities, but it is our goal to provide you some entertaining and an informative podcast. We do have a little punny business that we do, so just gloss right over that.
Feel free to roll your eyes at us all you want.
Nothing to it but to do it, right?
That's right.
So today we're talking about episode 104, Going Rogue. It was written by Jeff Johns and Kai Wu. The director was, of course, the lovely Glenn Winters.
Visual effects this week were stunning as well.
Bravo for taking on an action sequence of that scope on TV on the CW.
From Barry's point of view.
Just, whoa, blew me away. Got a little sketchy in certain parts, but just the scope of it and the scale of it was nice. Arrow's going to be known for the action, and I think that Flash is going to be known for the visual effects side of things.
Yeah, I would agree.
Did you notice something different about this episode? In the soundtrack, sound design-wise?
Well, I'm trying to think now.
There were 7 songs featured. Now, given it was 3 from the radio, but...
You had a couple scenes in the coffee house, so you had to have that kind of music.
Well, you didn't have to, but they chose to do that. Well, we even opened the episode with that All Right Now by Free.
That's true. That's true.
The music on the car was so awkward. It was like When a Man Loves a Woman, Percy Sledge, Let's Get It On, Marvin Gaye.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
And then the song that was in Jitters, the first one, was Battlefields by Me Sun. And then we had Jupiter Smiling by Kite Club, like 100 Lovers by Tennis. And I'm just like, I have no idea who any of these people are. And then the last song was Dirty Party Secrets by Bam Tone. And I'm just like, I feel old.
Yeah. I was like, huh?
But I mean, it kind of works for for CC Jitters.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
It's that fun, young, energetic, almost like the talent at the Smallville kind of energy. Mm-hmm. But more fun, more bright, more cheery. Let's just get into the guest stars. We had Emily Bat Rickards as Felicity Smoke, a welcome addition, which I will get into very shortly. Wentworth Miller as Leonard Snart / Captain Cold.
Don't laugh, but the first time I watched, I thought they said his name was Snarf, like from Thundercats. So.
Snarf. Oh my god, I would have loved if Barry would have made that reference. He's like, for him to be like, did you just say Snarf? Missed opportunity. And then, of course, we had Patrick Sabonye as David Singh. We did get a special little voice cameo by Dominic Purcell, which I'll get into in the Easter egg.
Do we want to do the synopsis?
Oh, thank you. See, that's why you're my co-pilot.
The Flash stops a robbery, but the culprit gets away after shooting a guard, and the Flash chooses to save the man instead of following the criminals. Joe shows Barry a book of suspects, and Barry identifies Leonard Snart as the leader of the group. While investigating the case, Barry gets a surprise visit from an old friend, Felicity Smoke, who heard about his new abilities and came to check them out for herself. Dr. Wells is furious when he finds out that Cisco built the cold gun without telling anyone and now it's missing. Meanwhile, Iris is getting the silent treatment from Joe because of her relationship with Eddie. Finally, the Flash and Captain Cold have an epic confrontation. Dr. Harrison Wells is shown threatening Cisco, telling him to never build anything like that gun again.
What I got for the theme was growing pains. Everybody had growing pains on how to adjust to these new situations in their life.
That's true.
When it really hit me was when Felicity showed up, and she's like, our team didn't come up together overnight, and we talked about this, how well they had been getting along. In the grand scheme of things, like, yeah, something bad has to happen, has to go wrong for this team to grow and learn from their mistakes.
Right.
And I mean, it happened on multiple levels this episode.
Well, and my thought of the theme was kind of that everybody at one point gets a little cold-hearted. You think about it, Barry let's go on Cisco. He just wasn't thinking. He was thinking about how he felt in his grief and not thinking and taking into consideration that his team had been traumatized and they'd been through all these terrible things and they weren't sure how Barry was going to turn out. And then you got Iris and Joe she doesn't take into consideration how her relationship with Eddie is going to affect her dad. I mean, that could even put him at risk. She tells him, I mean, she almost sounds like a little kid, I don't care what you think, I'm going to date Eddie, and it just, how she loses perspective in her own, I want this, and forgets how this affects her dad. And everybody goes through this in life.
We can talk about the villain, who is just my everything. I'm absolutely smitten with Wentworth Miller as Captain Cold. I think that it's only fitting that Captain Cold, who is a very big deal in the Flash comic books, was the first one to kind of get away and also not be a metahuman.
Yeah, that was important. That I think that he wasn't a metahuman. He doesn't have any special, unnatural ability. It's that, he got something really dangerous created by somebody really smart, and he's smart enough to figure out how to use it.
Although I think a lot of the comic book fans are kind of grumbling that they didn't portray him as smart enough to have built the gun, because in the comic books he did build the gun, but they did give the element of being a criminal mastermind, which I really enjoyed. I like this take a lot.
This episode, I was really glad they brought Felicity in.
The superhero team whisperer.
Yeah, well, she's the glue. She's the glue in Team Arrow. She's what keeps them together and holds them together and centered. And Barry was really struggling with how to lead his team. The beginning was great. Here he is, having fun with everybody, and how awesome is that? Because they haven't had enough fun. I mean, they just haven't had any fun, really, since this whole Collider thing. Everybody's been kind of, down in the dumps, and it was just really cool to see him, trying to do some team building and having fun with everybody, and then it all goes somewhere in a handbasket,
Barry goes in the beginning of this, he's like, not only did the lightning give me, these superpowers, it gave me friends.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
And then he forgets that.
Well, and that's how friends are. Something bad happens. Sometimes you get upset and you have to work through it.
Captain Cold gets him with the cold gun, and then, it must get his heart, too, for a little bit.
Obviously he built that after the accelerator blew up.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a lot of security around.
Right.
At least take it home with you. Don't just leave it in the lab where no security is.
Right. And once you know that Barry is good, then maybe you need to destroy it.
I don't know. Batman keeps kryptonite around.
That's true. Well, and one of the other things that kind of hit me too was, that whole line about, the lightning strike gave me friends. How much experience really has Barry had having friends? He's always been the outcast. And he was obviously a very studious. So this is really his first time having friends and having to lead.
But is he leading really, or is it really Dr. Wells from behind the scenes?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's Barry. Barry is trying to. He's trying to get his footing and kind of figure things out.
Should he be leading? Like, these are the questions that I kind of want to ask about the Flash. Like, the Flash is actually, in the comic books, he doesn't really have a support system. It's him for the most part. It's very Spider-Man-esque, if you will, on that level. And it's like, should Barry be leading? He is young. He doesn't have a lot of experience. And, as John Wesley Shipp, said, Barry is the kind of guy that looks to other people and takes the best of them and incorporates it into himself.
I think he knows that he definitely has to be, he doesn't necessarily have to lead everything, but he has to be a leader in, he has to be able to manage his powers and manage how he uses those, and he has to take ownership of that. You know what I'm saying? Because of his abilities, he has to have some of that in him so that he's got the backbone to know, if somebody tries to get him to do something he shouldn't, that he could say, hey, you know what? No, I'm not doing that. And so he has to have that kind of leadership. And he doesn't know right now really how to lead because he's not done it.
And I think you absolutely lead by example. I think that's the best way to lead. And I think that's what Barry does best. And I think that, I don't think he thinks it's leading in his mind. He is being the moral compass. He brought this team together because he said, hey, there's metahumans. The cops can't stop them. I think I can. Let's do this. And he's the motivating force. And that's what I love about Barry.
Exactly. One of the many things.
Really enjoyed that it was Captain Cold. He's the breakout villain so far. I know it's only 4 episodes, but he is the breakout villain so far. And just to jump ahead to the ending scene really quick, it looks like he's putting together a ragtag team. Oh, we didn't have any flashbacks. Oh my God, do you know how much I cheered when at the end of the episode I realized we didn't have any flashbacks? They know, they get it. They are learning the lessons.
I love flashbacks in the Flash, especially when we get family moments and we get important story bits, and eventually I bet you Barry's going to start remembering more stuff.
They didn't try to jam something that didn't fit in with the message of the episode.
Exactly.
I thought we were going to get a flash of Dr. Wells, like a flash of Felicity's future. Actually, when he said I foresaw, I thought we were going to have a flash forward. That was the only thing that was disappointing. Like I'm cool with flash forwards too. Because, he talked about how he had his eye on her, and it got my wheels turning. And then by the end of the episode, I was like, oh. Well, let's get into Team Flash really quick. It hurt my soul to see them split apart like this. But they gave us good times first, though.
Great to see them together in the beginning, and it hurt to see, just it was almost a moment of panic. I felt bad for Caitlin. Because when, Barry's losing it, Caitlin's like, look, you've got to understand.
She defended Cisco, and that made me happy.
Yeah. And she did, but you could tell she was panicked. She cares about Barry. She's bonded with him, and she was really worried because, here he's lashing out at Cisco, and she really desperately wants him to understand how they felt and how terrified they were. And I can't say that I blame her. We all have to take a step back and look at things through other people's eyes.
Definitely. I feel like she's the Felicity. You know what I'm saying? She's going to be that glue. She's the voice of reason, and she has a connection to all 3 of the guys in a very profoundly different way.
Yeah.
Cisco's her little brother. Dr. Wells is her peer, her colleague, her boss. But she also, calls him out on this, like, hey, Barry is doing this, that, and the other. And then she really cares about Barry because he gives her hope, it feels like.
But I think instead of the more geeky route, she's going to be the more scientifical route.
Which, same difference to most people.
It is a little bit of a differentiation.
Absolutely. So I guess I want to start with Iris. She came across a little petulant with her father, but I totally get where she was coming from. We got a little insight to how Joe deals with his daughter. Like, it's not easy for a man to raise a daughter on his own.
Yeah. And a daughter and his daughter's best friend in the same house. That's got to be tough too. And he did it on his own?
Seemingly. We don't know.
Even tougher. So, bravo for him for raising a really strong, independent girl.
Definitely. But I think that is one of the only ways for a guy to, like, in a guy's mind to kind of deal with a daughter. It's, women are more emotional, and we like to talk things out. So if you give us the cold shoulder, you're like, hey, what's wrong? Don't you do that. I do that. You don't do that to me. But we saw him do the same thing to Barry too. You know what I mean? So that's Joe's MO, and I love it that it's across the board.
Yeah, he has that coping mechanism down pretty well.
I liked Iris. I like when she talked. I like that we're kind of still have that continuity, because it was the pilot and things can change from the pilot to further episodes. That they still sticking with her, that she wanted to be a cop. That means kind of a lot to me. Still haven't really quite told us what she's getting her PhD in. What you think about Iris besides, you and her having the same coat?
Hey, I love having the same coat as Iris. That was cool, but I had it first. Iris, I like that she is really independent and she's willing to, take a leap. You think about it. If you're reporting about this weird guy running around town that nobody can see, that takes a bunch of guts, because how do you prove it? You really can't, except for pictures, but you still can't see what it is. So that she has the gumption to write about that, the bravery to do that. And she stands up to her dad. She stands up to Barry. She's an independent woman, and I like that. And she cares about Barry because she really wanted to set him up with Felicity.
Now, this is something that I did want to bring up. Like, I love that they didn't make Iris jealous. She actually was happy and she was rooting for them to be together. I think that that's very important because in TV, specifically the CW, well, just pretty much any show in general, they have women be catty towards each other.
No, she cares about Barry's best interest. She wants him to be happy.
She called her an adorable nerd. Like, from the minute she saw her, she's like, who's this? Oh my God, I'm Iris West. Like, who are you? Like, I like that. I like that they had a very friendly first introduction. You know what I mean? Because we know that future history that's coming between Barry and Iris.
And I think it's going to be cool, too, because if Felicity has that relationship with Iris, it's going to make it that much easier when things start hitting the fan between both cities. I think part of the reason that she went was so that she could meet the team. She could scope them out. They could feel comfortable with each other. So if something happened in either city, they would feel comfortable to call each other and offer help.
I definitely think that was the writers' intent. The writers and the showrunners' intentions, because, well, that crossover's coming up pretty dang soon.
Yes, it is. And two, she needed to scope out their tech so she'd know how to, hack it, or to give them help when they need it. You know what I'm saying? So she could get in and help them. So
let's talk about Eddie. Poor Eddie. You got the Millennium Falcon question wrong? Oh, man. That hurt my soul. Y'all don't even know.
That's unforgivable.
He liked Felicity the way she looked, too. I was just like, yeah. We all love Felicity. I mean, poor guy. Like, he's getting more and more screen time each episode. So good for Rick Cosner. I really like him. I'm really enjoying his portrayal of Eddie. He seems like a good guy right now. But doesn't mean I don't have my pitchfork ready to go.
You gotta wonder, because something's gonna happen to break him up, and it's not gonna be pretty.
I don't know. It might just be that he gets shot in the line of duty and Iris doesn't want to lose another person in her life or something. She, that speech she gave last week.
Or her dad might get shot in the line of duty, and it might wake her up to the fact that she can't do this. She can't have her dad's safety in jeopardy because she's dating his partner.
I don't think that it has to be something horrible.
No, but I think eventually it will be.
Yeah, and for drama's sake, I definitely think it's going to be an ugly, nasty breakup and the lines get drawn, and that might even turn Eddie evil. Who knows? Let's talk about, I guess we'll just go ahead and go Joe. He didn't bring a tear to my eye, but I did enjoy his interactions with Iris once again this week.
Oh, yeah. And Eddie in the car. That was hilarious.
We're not friends.
Did I tell you those stories? No, because we're not friends.
Ouch. Which is odd, because before that they seemed like they were pretty chummy, especially all things considered with the situation with Barry where he took over his shifts and stuff, you would think. But I think for Joe, you have to, he really takes the title of friend very seriously.
Yeah, and I think too, he feels like he has to put some distance because, he's, I think, supposed to be mentoring Eddie in a way. You have to have that distance a little bit to mentor.
I'm always very impressed with Jesse L. Martin. Every time he comes on the screen, he's everything that I want Quentin to be.
He is completely believable, and he's somebody that, hey, I wish he was in my life because he's a pretty cool guy. And he is really real with people. And that is something that's rare nowadays, sadly.
And he knows when to apologize.
Yes.
Which is something not a lot of people actually know how to do in real life, I've noticed. Can we just talk about Felicity? I can't hold it anymore.
Go for it.
I was tentative about this because of how I didn't like how geeky they made Barry in The Scientist and Three Ghosts. It made it feel like they were trying to match Felicity's dorkiness.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they've kind of done the same thing with Ray Palmer a little bit. And so that kind of rubs me the wrong way because that's not the kind of geek, that Barry in the comic books is. But it works for Grant. But now that he has his own show, he's been fleshed out in his own universe. He actually kind of held his own and came off even a little less geeky than Felicity.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really did enjoy her. I actually want her to come back and stay on The Flash. She's a better fit. She literally just slid in and fit like your house slippers you come home to after a long day's work,
Yeah, but look at what happened on Arrow while she was gone. The whole place fell apart.
Not really, though. I'm saying she fits better on the Flash for me personally, with her interpersonal relationships, her particular set of skills. And it was just effortless. Whereas she kind of rubs me the wrong way a lot of times on Arrow, and you know, she is the glue, but only because they wrote it. So like sometimes I go, why did Felicity do that? That was so unnecessary. Here she is that fierce mama bear, you know, she gets into that, hey, what do you really know about his powers? Is he safe? And you know, Dr. Wells goes, he's in the best hands. And you know, she's asking all the right questions. We want to know.
She's kind of looking out for Barry's best interest too, and you know, he needs an advocate, absolutely needs an advocate, and I think we're going to get that. But yeah, I mean, I like that her experience that she's had. She was the voice of reason, you know, when they've not had this experience, they've never been there before. And like I said, Barry, you know, probably hasn't had the experience of having a lot of friends and knowing how to interact and how to be able to hold his own and lead when he needs to. And she was the voice that, you know, kind of said, hey, you know, take a step back and look at this way. Think about this.
Oh, one of my favorite lines is, this life can be pretty lonely. Don't make it any lonelier than it has to be.
Exactly. And that goes for a lot of us in life, really.
Yeah. So, I mean, I loved her. Like, I was so tentative. I'm like, no. And, you know, I was like, because, you know, everybody would ship Felicity with Barry. And it's fine because I feel like, even though I feel like he doesn't need to be dating or having sex or anything in the first season, I do love their chemistry together. I love their dorky innocence.
And Felicity keeps letting the innuendos fly no matter what guy it is, you know?
That's just Felicity. You know, she has that I feel like she has a touch of social anxiety where, you know, there's no filter because she's nervous. Oh, so yeah, I enjoyed having her, and she is more than welcome back on this show anytime. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Oh, Cisco. He was the guy that was going rogue.
Yes. I love how he Captain Cold probably isn't even out of earshot. He's like, it's the Star Labs vacuum cleaner.
With a lot of LEDs.
Yeah. I was like surprised Captain Cold didn't just turn around and shoot him, you know? But, you know, it was just really funny. I was like, okay.
I like that we got to see a different side of Cisco.
You could tell he was nervous, but he was going to stand up for his friend no matter what. Thanks to Felicity's coaxing.
Yeah, I'm surprised that, you know, Dr. Wells doesn't want them making weapons. I mean, we saw the weapon that they had at Star Labs in episode 219, Man Under the Hood.
Yes.
So, I mean, unless that's a completely different division that wasn't under his purview.
Yeah, that could be. Or it could be, you know, maybe because of the accident and stuff and them not being able to have security and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Who knows? If we can house metahuman crazies downstairs, why couldn't, and they can't break out, why couldn't we house the weapons down there?
So that's what I was thinking. So that's what I'm saying. Like, is it because he wants a no weapon policy, like zero tolerance? It's Dr. Wells. We will never know.
It's true.
But I felt for Cisco. I saw his point, and I saw Barry's point, like I said. I think this is the most speaking lines he's ever had to date.
Yes.
So I'm happy. I'm happy for Carlos.
Yeah, and I love his layered shirts. He does a layered shirt look every week. I really like Cisco. I mean, I just like him as a character, and I was glad that we got to see more of him. I mean, we haven't really gotten to learn a lot about who he is yet, and from this episode, we get that, you know, he's a really conscientious guy. It really hurt him that Barry was so taken aback. You know, he was kind of hurt, but then in the end, he didn't hold a grudge against Barry, and that's a pretty big deal. Because a lot of people, they won't do that. You know, a lot of people hold a grudge and, you know, would kind of hold that over somebody. And I think it was good that we learned that, you know, Cisco's a really good guy. But it was just neat to see that emotional side of him fleshed out.
Definitely. One thing I will say that I was surprised to see both Cisco and Caitlin out in the field together so soon with Barry. Like, when I saw the promotional pictures, I was like, how the hell did that happen?
Yeah, because somebody who's been through it said, hey, you know, you need to go help.
I'm just surprised that it wasn't Dr. Wells' insistence, that it was Felicity's. I was just like, okay, what's going on with this?
Well, that's what made me think that he was saying, don't go out to the field again. That's what made me think that's what he was saying at the end, was because he wasn't the one to tell them to do it.
Okay, so Caitlin kind of took the back seat this episode a little bit, but that's okay, because we know a little bit more about her than we do Cisco.
Yeah, we had her big episode with the whole meltdown with Robbie, so, it was good to let Cisco kind of have his moment. But yeah, I mean, it was good to see her having fun at the beginning. Mm-hmm. Because we hadn't seen her smile.
And I love Danielle Panabaker's smile.
And she was just so funny. This thing isn't even anatomically correct.
Like, how dare you give me this task? And
right.
I think the funniest part of it all was when he was playing chess with Dr. Wells, and then Dr. Wells gives him checkmate and goes, it looks like you have a lot to learn, You still have a lot to learn, Mr. Allen. And I'm like, but you ain't going to teach him, are you? I don't know. Like, I like that Caitlin stood up for Cisco, like I said. I like that she was the one to say, I don't know how much Felicity needs to know about our setup.
She's the mama bear there.
Yes. Dr. Wells actually didn't have much to do, especially since he wasn't like the twist ending this week.
Well, kind of. He still had the don't do that again, Cisco.
Yeah, but I mean, that's nothing compared to stabbing a dude. And I like that. They're not afraid to switch it up.
Yes.
Thank goodness. They are not stuck to a stale form. They're not letting their formula get stale, do you know?
And I like it that it's always a sinister twist at the end, though. That's fun.
Yeah, and because the show's so bright and hopeful, they gotta give it a little edge. The new listeners should know, I guess, is that I'm a huge Tom Cavanaugh fan. So I'm always a little bummed when we don't get those little Dr. Wells moments. But what we did get this week in lieu of him was awesome. So it was kind of a fair trade for me. Very. I fall in love with him every week just a little bit more. How is that possible?
He's growing. We're watching him grow, and he grows on us. And I think that's how it works. We see more of him, and we see him struggle. I mean, that's, I think, what does it for me, is watching him go through a struggle and overcome it. And that endears him to me more. Life isn't easy.
You hit the nail on the head. Yes, this is so weird that a show about metahumans and impossible technological advances is this grounded in actual human emotion and relatability.
It almost reminds me of the original Star Trek. You think about it, the original Star Trek series, every episode was almost like a kind of a morality play.
It wasn't like, it was, and that was Gene Roddenberry's point. It was these takes on social commentary every single week.
And in The Flash, we're kind of getting that too, but more kind of the life lessons, not necessarily the political point. Time is, kind of think about what other people are going through before you, make an idiot of yourself. Or, you know what I'm saying? Consider others' feelings before you make a rash decision.
Yeah, and it kind of makes sense that they've chosen kind of this route to go with Barry, because he is a young man. He's still learning. He's still growing as a person. And he's got these new kind of responsibilities and situations that have kind of broadened his horizons,
Everything is magnified because of his powers. And it has good consequences and bad consequences. He's got friends now. He's got more time to spend with friends now.
But he's also kind of further away from Iris because he's keeping this heavy secret.
Exactly. And it's causing a rift between Joe and Iris, too.
Yes. That was kind of the one thing that I was just like, oh, man, no more secrets. Yeah, right. But at the same time, it also brought Barry and Joe closer together. They're on this mission to save his father. And so, every situation has its pros and its cons.
And you don't want that to happen, because Joe and Iris, their relationship is really good, and you don't want to see that happen.
I really love Barry this episode, and I like the ups and downs that he is going through. It's just such a touch of realism to this character. So, do you want to talk Easter eggs, sister?
There's only one or two that I remember right now. The Armored Car Company was the first one I noticed.
Now, what is familiar about this particular security company?
Well, I know that it was something to do with Diggle.
Yep.
And there was also a comic book.
Very good, Kelly. Now, I'm a comic book nerd, and Kelly is not. So this is good for her.
It's very good for me. And I couldn't believe that I spotted it during the episode. That's big for me. So
okay, the armored truck carrying the Klondike Dynasty diamond belongs to Blackhawk Security, a firm which Diggle used to work for. Diggle being John Diggle from Arrow. In the comics, the Blackhawks are an elite team of fighter pilots. I think it was from like the World War I era.
World War II.
Oh, World War II.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, and I kind of geeked out on that over on Arrow a million years ago.
I laughed too. You think about it. What he was stealing, that's the very first joke.
They were super punny this week, and I loved every freaking minute of it.
It's got to be a writer or somebody named after that cattle guy that saved the cattle from drowning.
Are you talking about Bovine Freely? No, they just wanted a funny sounding name, it seems like.
Oh my goodness.
I looked, and I'm like, this is not ringing any bells. And I look, and nobody brought it up. And so I don't know what the hell that is.
Maybe that was a joke at Blake Neely.
You know what?
Because it rhymes.
That's a good point, Kelly. I'm gonna tweet that to him. I'm like, do you think? Hey Blake, do you think that was a shot at you?
Or a shout out? Because it was so prominent. It had to be something.
I couldn't find it, but that's a good as theory as any, Kelly. That's why you're my co-host. Always on the ball, ma'am. Dexter Miles, do you know this reference?
No.
Okay, he was the founder of the Flash Museum in the comics, and he's the curator that calls Joe about Captain Cold's suspicious behavior.
That makes sense, because we got the museum reference last week, too.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so Fourth and Collins is a link to Scott Collins, who drew Jeff Johns' favorite run on The Flash, and that's a run where the Rogues got a ton of spotlight, and I think that's what Jeff really liked about it. He likes the Rogues and the Flashes, and he's obviously incorporating that into the show. So yeah, it kind of makes sense that would be the shout out. So yeah, the Klondike Dynasty was also a reference. It's Black Adam's homeland. A little bit about Leonard Snart, aka Captain Cold, is that he is a classic Flash Rogues villain. He is named by Cisco, which apparently everybody keeps telling him. I love that they incorporated the thing about the freeze gun and the absolute zero thing about how Cold is the opposite of Speed, because they are cosmic opposites. And he is a literally an arch nemesis of Barry's, and I like that. I think that was really cool and smart.
Yeah, and it's great because it gives you a chance to talk about physics with your kids. I love physics.
Fun fact, we got a guy named Oswald Loomis who hosted the trivia night at Jitters. Do you know who this guy is?
No.
The Trickster.
That's right.
He used to be Toyman too. Like in one iteration he was Toyman, but he's also known as the Trickster. Yeah, so maybe we're gonna get the Trickster eventually.
Fun trivia. Since we haven't told this trivia on this podcast,
or the other one, we only tweeted it.
That's true. Okay, original Flash 90s John Wesley ships. Little Flash ears. They are in the ownership of Mark Hamill.
Last day of filming, he rips them off the suit and hands them to Mark Hamill. How cool is that?
And they never fell off the costume the whole time.
That is some good sturdy construction. Oh, okay. So let's do the Dominic Purcell Easter egg. Okay, the guy at the end with the voice cameo is Dominic Purcell, who will be playing Heatwave. There's actually no Flash Season 0 comic book this week. In the last one, I believe I recapped them all for you guys, so you should be all caught up for next week if you so choose to read it. But the comic book, the actual regular Flash comic book, number 35, did hit shelves and digital pull list October 22nd, 2014. It is 32 pages long. It was written by Van Jensen and Robert Venditti. And then the cover was by Norm Rapmund, and then the art was by Brad Booth and Norm Rapmund. And it's just a pretty cool thing. It's the Flash versus Future Flash as the two super speedsters battle for the fate of Wally West. Will a Flash die? I don't know. I'm not going to be the one to spoil it for you. Check it out. Let's get into the grade.
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
There we go. I smell another A.
Yeah, you do smell another A. I gotta say, this is the most consistent show. It's been great, and I can't complain about anything. I'm happy. A.
Dang you, Kelly. I gave it an A too. We just sound like blathering fangirls. Oh my God, best episode ever. But it's true. Like, the one thing that I've been consistently complaining about was the lousy villains, and they fixed it.
And nice visual effects.
And you know, the team falling apart and coming back together, Felicity coming into town and actually feeling like an auxiliary member of the team instantly. I mean, it was well written, well paced, had heart, had soul, had action. What more could you ask for from a show? What was your scene of the night?
I really liked the fallout scene. I thought the acting, I mean, we hadn't seen Barry get upset. We hadn't seen all these characters go through that, really. I mean, the Collider, yeah, we saw that. But we hadn't seen Barry get angry, and we hadn't seen the reaction to that. And I thought it was really well done. And I also liked the scene in the car with Eddie and Joe. And the awkwardness of that. That was just wonderfully played.
I think my favorite scene was trivia night at Jitters, especially when it starts after Felicity walks in that black dress. And like, it's like the world stopped for a second. It was like...
E = MC Hammer.
I know, and she got the joke, and they were just so cute together. And the fact, like I said, the fact that Iris wasn't jealous and she was encouraging it, it was just a really feel-good scene. Line of the night.
I liked Felicity's line. Don't make it any lonelier than it has to be. I love Caitlin, too, where, you know, this thing isn't even anatomically correct.
Barry goes, like you and Oliver. And, you know, he goes, takes one to know one. I'm afraid it will change everything. Felicity. It will, but maybe that's not such a bad thing. What is wrong with us? We are perfectly perfect for each other. Barry, yet we're sitting here pining for people we can't have. I guess what they say is true. Opposites do attract. And then, of course, that whole scene was just kind of gold, though, because Felicity yelped, and she's like, did I yelp? I yelped. And they're just giggling like maniacs.
I loved her line, too, where she was like, I want to see it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I want to see
it. Or the hotel. Not that I mean you should come back to my hotel and sleep with me. Just that you should get some sleep. Felicity-isms. Oh, wait. Smoke-isms. Yeah. It's smoke-isms. Oh, and then also yes. Felicity had a line. Believe me, it took more than seeing Oliver do the Salmon ladder for me to trust him.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Everybody had a good poignant line in this episode, and I feel like it's a concerted effort in the writing room to do that.
Yeah. Oh, agreed.
Most memorable moment. I think we might have the same one. Was it the kiss? I think it was the kiss for me.
The kiss was cool. Yeah, I would agree.
And then, of course, the return of the smoking shoes.
Yeah. And I loved it when he runs up there and he's running around and goes, woo! Yeah, that was great.
Okay, who was your character of the night?
Well, I think tonight, the night was won by Cisco, I think. And I'm glad. He needed his night. We learned a lot about him. We learned what kind of guy he is. We learned that he's got the guts to stand up to somebody even when he's completely unarmed. And that takes somebody with a lot of guts. I was glad for him to be able to shine.
I'm glad you chose him so I can do a two-way tie between Felicity and Captain Cold. I really love that Felicity fit in so effortlessly. She gave really good points about being a team, even though she is romanticizing Team Arrow to a very high degree. But it's for emphasis and to drive home a point, and I get it. Like, she just cares about Barry, and Barry needs somebody to look out for him on the superhero front of things. Joe has him at home and at the precinct and everything. But there's really, like, sure, they're friends, quote unquote, but at the end of the day, they're all scientists wanting to push Barry. Felicity's his friend. She cares. She's
his advocate.
And I like that. Barry needs that. And they go together like peanut butter and jelly. And I was just really worried about them really trying to push a romantic angle, but they kind of quashed it at the end. And that's what really was the turning point when I rewatched the episode, like having that relief, like, oh, they're not going to try to go there. So, yeah. And then Captain Cold, because he just came out of the gate swinging, and this was their first foray into really going in depth with a villain. We spent a lot of time with Captain Cold. We got the subtle hints of his backstory without getting too exposition heavy, and because he's gonna be back. And I think that it's only appropriate for Captain Cold to be the first, villain to be able to come back. Most improved, I would say, scope and scale of the action.
Yes, that the train scene was just really cool. I thought it was so cool to see that from Barry's perspective. I mean, we saw the beginning of it from what he saw, and then how it morphed to us seeing outside and seeing what Barry was doing. But it was so cool to see it through his eyes.
So that answers both of our question for best action by far.
Yes. Best action so far in the series.
Exactly. Well, just fun fact, kind of off topic really quick, is that something that I loved about this episode was there's an issue of the comic book. I think it's this newer one, actually, if I'm not mistaken, where Barry not, only saves everybody from a burning building, he rebuilds it, and they cut a little sliver out, and they show him reading it on his phone, like how to build and like county codes and stuff, and it kind of reminded me of what Dr. Wells was doing with Barry to see how fast his mind processes information, and I thought that was a really cool touch.
Yeah, that was really cool, and Felicity's questions were interesting too, because makes you think about what else are they going to have to find out.
Is he going to end up in a big red poof of dust? Is that the crisis?
Hopefully not.
Is that how he went missing? He was just running and then poof, red dust in a costume? Oh my God, what if that actually was what happened? And then we go back and we go, oh, Felicity called it. Best character interaction?
Well, you got Barry and Felicity, of course.
Of course.
Joe and Eddie.
Uh-huh.
Because they're just hilarious. And then Joe and Iris.
See, great minds think alike sometimes. Literally my order. So, biggest shock, surprise of the night?
That he got away.
Yes. And that he ended the episode. So, he's a big deal.
Yeah, because he's coming back and he's gunning for Barry.
Oh, yeah.
Because he knows his weakness.
Oh, my God. He knows the people that's helping him. That's scary. So we don't have any listener feedback for you guys this week, but that's okay. You can find us on Twitter at flashpoint_SMG. You can contact us via email at flashpoint.smg@gmail.com. Time for some shameless plugs.
I can be found on Twitter at SuperSquint. That's SuperSquint. And you can read my weekly Flash reviews at voiceoftv.com. And I also co-host the Before the Bat podcast and Queen Consolidated with Miss Lilith.
Okay, so I'm Lilith, and you can find me at Lilith Hellfire on Twitter. I run a blog where I recap Rain, Bench on USA, just whatever I really feel like every week, honestly. But it's really cool. You should check it out. It's lilithlovestv.blogspot.com, and loves is spelled L-U-V-S. If you guys have been listening and you have yet to rate and review us on iTunes, I want to encourage you guys to do that to help us move up the charts, to help other people find us.
And download us, please.
Yes, download the episodes because streaming actually doesn't count. Just a little fun fact. I look forward to hearing what you guys think, both on iTunes and emails and on Twitter. So, yeah, looks like that's all we have. We hope you enjoyed our little discussion of episode 104, Going Rogue. What's happening next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday, they are replaying last week's episode. Things You Cannot Run is replaying next week.
Okay, so yeah, well, we'll see you guys back here in 2 weeks. Next week, maybe you guys, if you have a Tumblr, you want to come join us, leave a submission, maybe some fan art, maybe a review.
Memes?
Yes!
Memes are good.
Memes are great.
Gifts?
Yes, those are always awesome.
Gifts are gifts.
So yeah, let's have some fun next Tuesday over on the Tumblr account, which is theflashpodcast.tumblr.com. I'm always looking for new people to follow that love the Flash and to talk about the Flash with. Okay, yes, so just check us out at our respective Twitters, and we might be doing something for the Flash. We hope to hear from you guys. So it'll be 2 weeks before you know it.
We'll be back in a flash.
If you would like to donate to help pay for this and other Southgate Media Group podcasts, simply go to our website, southgatemediagroup.com, and click on the donate button. It can be as little as $1 or, well, as much as you want. Help keep this fun going by supporting this and our other shows. Thanks again for listening, everyone. You're the best fans in the world.